highly qualified professional judoka who have professional and private judo careers, which are actually outstanding. As a founding director of the United States Judo Association and a three-time president of the United States Judo Association, I believe that this election is a critical pivotal point in developing our grassroots organization and expanding it. We have been devastated to a large degree by the pandemic crisis, and now we need to go through a nominating process. This process is vital to get highly qualified candidates elected to the board of directors. There has not been an election for 8 years. We need to comply with the board of directors' mandate to follow its bylaws, and we need to ensure that we don't violate any state regulations for a 501c3. Therefore, making sure that this election is conducted properly and that all 7 positions of the current board are up for election is vitally important to the future of this organization. The current board of directors seems somewhat confused and defiant about following certain bylaw provisions, and I think that is somewhat of a shame. So without further ado, let's get on to the nominating process. This is like a primary election, and we will introduce each of the candidates and ask them a series of questions. So I'd like to start with the first question, which is, could you please tell the audience something about your professional career? And I'd like to start with Mr. Jesse Goldstein.
Hi, I'm Jesse Goldstein, 66 years old. I attended Long Island University, part of CW Post College, part of Long Island University, as a finance marketing major. And currently, and for the last 30 years, I'm a commercial real estate broker specializing in land acquisition and development.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall Kaufman.
Hi, I'm Marshall Kaufman. After 8 years in the Air Force, I had a successful 29-year career with AT&T in operations, marketing, engineering, and as a national service manager, interfacing with multi-million-dollar customers. They viewed my position as being a value-added position that our competitors did not provide. Simply, and the very simple fact is that people will go to the place where they get the biggest bang for their buck, and so will our membership.
Thank you, Marshall. Dr. Rob Briley.
Thank you. I have been an educator my whole career, which I'm retired from. My bachelor's degree and my master's degree are in physical education, teaching a physical skill, such as judo. I have been employed in public schools and in universities. My doctoral degree is partly in physical education, and the other part was in educational policy. I served 10 years at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the media lab as an education researcher. I have been a board member and just recently stepped off from a board whose annual revenue is $600 million. I hope to bring all those experiences to the USJA Board of Directors. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And Ms. Bonnie Corte.
I'm Bonnie Corte, and judo has occupied 57 years of my life. I became a member originally with the Armed Forces Judo Association in 1969. My judo club, Boncal, was a registered club for over 47 years. And also at the same time, I competed nationally in kata and shiai medaling, and I also have 5 international medals in shiai. I worked on a number of USJA committees and was part of their clinician staff.
Thank you, Bonnie. Mr. Pete Mantell.
Hello and thank you. I'm Pete Mantell, and I spent a 30-year career in the U.S. Coast Guard as a member and leader of teams all over the world engaged to complete missions such as search and rescue and law enforcement. I'm now ready to be a part of the board of directors and guide the USJA into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Mr. Ron Cooley.
Hi, I'm Ron Cooley. Got degrees in engineering, an MBA in operations and finance, and a JD law degree. Started out as an aerospace engineer, moved into consulting for numerous corporations around the country, and most recently spent 20 years as a courtroom lawyer, ready to apply all those skills to the USJA.
Thank you, Ron. The next question I have is, could you tell us a little bit more about your judo involvement over the last number of decades? And we'll start with Jesse Goldstein.
I was fortunate enough to be on the U.S. team from 79 to 83 until I retired due to a knee injury. And some of those teams included Pan American Games, Olympic, World Team, and quite a few others. I was very happy and proud to serve for 7 years on the United States Judo Association Promotion Board. And I think that with this slate right here, we can bring the JA back to where it was and even better.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rob Riley.
Well, thank you, Sensei Bregman. My judo career started in the mid 60s when I was a high school student in Springfield, Massachusetts. During the Vietnam era, I didn't know what I was going to do later, where I was going. I enlisted in the United States Army, and lo and behold, I was stationed 6 train stops from the Kodokan in Tokyo, Japan, and the duty assignment lasted 2 very productive years. I met quite a few people over there, trained very hard every day. I came back, I was an assistant coach at Fort Bragg, which was an extremely large club in the day. I was the head coach at the Ohio State University. I have been at several other clubs as the head coach and assistant coach. I've had a lower profile in recent years as I stepped away from being the editor of American Judo, then the USJA coach, and being a member of the USJA's promotion board. Only recently, the last few years, became active again, training at my age at the Jason Morris Judo Center, where I, until COVID started, attended regularly. And the elite athletes there were very good and took mercy on me. Well, most of the time took mercy on me. I hope to work with all these fine representatives that we're here today with, and moving the USJA forward in many areas. Thank you.
And Bonnie Corte.
My judo experience has ranged across the United States, and I attended multiple training camps, including being responsible for my own training for international competition. I had to devise my own training drills and competed with a number of major competitors throughout the world.
Thank you, Bonnie. Mr. Mantell.
Well, I started judo at the ripe old age of 7 in 1975 on the West Coast in a large dojo. And as I rose through the ranks and competed locally, nationally, and internationally, I always wanted to give back to the sport that has given me so much and plant more grassroots so it can now grow and thrive in this great country. Thank you.
And Mr. Ron Cooley.
I started judo in college, fell in love with it. Soon I was working out 40 to 60 hours a week in 4 different dojos. Within 3 years, I was a collegiate judo instructor. I've been in judo constantly since then. Strong USJA supporter. One of the few people that have worked out in more than 100 dojos across the country. Currently, I help with 3 different dojos, and I'm a national touring referee, and I'm ready to apply all that for the board. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. The last question I'd like to ask and go around the nominees, what particular area of interest do you feel you could make a major contribution in, and what area interests you the most? So again, we'll start with Mr. Jesse Goldstein.
Well, 2 things come to mind. One, the JA has to be treated as a business. With all the 3 organizations, there's obvious dues that are going to be paid, and you need the money to run. So for that reason, it's got to be treated as a business. We have to give the members value in the JA. One of the ways that I would do that, it's just one of the ways, take advantage of some of our best known members and committee members, Olympians, Olympic medalists, to offer services to dojos. Also to make the promotion board more accessible to dojos that are in states that there's not a lot of rank in, and it's very difficult to get rank. Those are just very, very broad strokes. But to let all the members know that the USJA and every committee in the JA is there for them.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall Coughlin.
First of all, I'd like to go back to the second question. I have 55 years of teaching and studying experience in judo. I'm the head coach of the Budokan Judo Club in Chesapeake Beach, Maryland. It's one of the larger clubs in the country. I serve the USJA on the development committee as a regional coordinator and also as an approved coaching certification instructor. What I'd like to do with the USJA is to increase trust, pride and loyalty to the USJA through open and honest communications and ethical practice. I believe that expanding the recreational membership base is paramount to growing the association and American Judo. And finally, we need to reach out to and develop the future leaders of American Judo through coaching, education, and mentoring.
Well, thank you. Mr. Rob Riley.
Thank you. Well, I see myself as being in several areas. One is board operations, which most folks don't see, the financial area, but things that impact members directly, especially at the grassroots level. Coach Education Committee has been inactive for many years. I want to get involved with the Coach Education Committee to provide not just the means to get a coaching badge to sit mat side, which is important, but to provide online experiences and in-person experiences that improve the teaching ability of coaches and to understand, and so they understand the process of learning, how people acquire a physical skill. Teaching and learning are very different. Those things are important and will help keep students, motivate the coaches. I also want to be involved with the referee committee and develop, which we have started to, a program to develop local and regional referees, people who won't go on to be national referees. They don't want to get that involved, but to create a base where coaches are better at teaching, understand the learning process, and that people in their club at very young ages, at middle age, and at older ages can be referees, which will grow the number of local and regional tournaments. I hope to contribute there and with other members of the committee in other areas which I have expertise, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you. Bonnie Corte.
Having experienced the USJA at major levels, I want to support the grassroots level, especially supporting members and clubs honesty and with integrity. So with the same level of commitment that the USJA started with when it was founded, and to build the USJA back better.
Thank you. Mr. Pete Mantell.
Well, to be specific, focusing on the coaching program, it definitely needs to be improved by formalizing the technical expertise, communication, and the teaching abilities, like Rob said, of the coaches, so they may be better suited to draw a larger piece of society onto the mats and keep them training so judo can grow.
Excellent. And Mr. Ron Cooley.
First and foremost, I want to build open communication between the board, all committees, and our clubs. We need club support, and getting things flowing both directions is number one. We have to make sure our ethics apply to everybody. But foremost, I want to build a professional management structure so the JA will run smoothly forever. That's number one.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen of the United States Judo Association, you have heard from all of the nominees. I believe they are all highly qualified, have extensive professional careers, and understand judo in a very broad way and how to grow grassroots judo from the ground up. I would again like to encourage you to nominate these individuals, and more importantly, to go to the polls when the voting is announced after these 6 individuals are nominated, and vote for them, because they will return the United States Judo Association by giving a grassroots impetus to club instructors to outreach and get new members, and to have open and direct communication on a daily or weekly basis. I'd like to thank you all very much for your presentations, and I'd like to encourage all USJA members to engage in the nominating process primarily, and to then go to the poll and vote when the election is announced.